Level 1. The damaging appointment. Gary Neville. Valencia gave him the job in December 2015 because he knew the owner. That's it. No prior managerial experience. No Spanish. No plan beyond hoping that being smart on television would translate to being smart in the dugout. It didn't. 3 wins in 16 league games. 0 clean sheets. A 7-0 humiliation at Barcelona in the Copa del Rey semi-final, where Luis Enrique kept Messi, Suarez and Neymar on until the final whistle, just to make a point. After the match, Neville went to shake Enrique's hand, and Enrique walked straight past him. Years later, Neville described it as a deliberate message: "You don't belong here." By March 2016, Valencia sat in 14th place. Neville was gone. His record stands as one of the worst in the club's history. He later admitted the experience made him physically ill and put him off coaching entirely. Football intelligence doesn't equal managerial authority. Neville proved that definitively. Frank de Boer won 4 consecutive Eredivisie titles at Ajax. The pedigree looked legitimate. Then came Inter Milan. 85 days, sacked while sitting 12th. Then Crystal Palace. 77 days, 4 league matches, 0 goals scored, 0 points collected. The first team in 93 years to begin a top-flight English season in such disastrous fashion. Jose Mourinho called him the worst manager in the history of the Premier League. The problem? De Boer tried to implement Ajax's possession philosophy at clubs that needed pragmatism. He arrived at Palace after Sam Allardyce had kept them safe through organisation and directness. De Boer immediately switched to 3 at the back and demanded short passing from players who couldn't execute it. The squad openly resisted. A system coach whose system required conditions that didn't exist. At Ajax, he had the infrastructure. Everywhere else, he had nothing. Quique Setién, the chess-playing philosopher who got the Barcelona job in January 2020 and lost it 7 months later after an 8-2 demolition by Bayern Munich. The first time Barcelona had conceded 8 goals since 1946. The irony is brutal. Setién had never won a trophy before Barcelona. What he had was a reputation. At Real Betis, he'd taken a mid-table club and made them play like contenders. Europa League qualification, a win at the Bernabeu, and in November 2018, a 4-3 victory at Camp Nou that remained Barcelona's last home defeat until he arrived as their manager. Sergio Busquets gave him a signed shirt that night for Quique, with love and admiration for your way of looking at football. 18 months later, Barcelona hired him based on that philosophy. The disciple entrusted with the temple. Setién was probably finished before the Bayern loss even happened. He'd lost the dressing room. During a water break against Celta Vigo, Messi was filmed ignoring instructions from assistant coach Eder Sarabia entirely. He surrendered the league to Real Madrid despite Barcelona sitting top when he arrived. But 8-2 is what history remembers. Setién stood frozen on the touchline, unable to respond. 3 days later, he was sacked. A theorist who got his dream job and discovered that theory means nothing when the biggest players don't respect you. Level 1 is where credibility dies, not just for a season, forever. Level 2. The False Dawn. Erik ten Hag. At Ajax, he reached a Champions League semi-final and won 3 consecutive Eredivisie titles. The tactical identity was clear, the players executed. Manchester United paid a compensation to bring him to Old Trafford in 2022. 2 trophies in 2 seasons, the League Cup and FA Cup. That's more domestic cups than any United manager since Sir Alex Ferguson. But the league finishes told a different story. 3rd, then 8th, then sitting 14th when they finally sacked him. Here's the paradox of Ten Hag. He won trophies while the team looked worse every month. The FA Cup victory over Manchester City in May 2024 bought him a contract extension. 4 months later, after spending a total of £600 million on transfers and producing United's worst start to a top-flight season since 1989, he was gone. Then came Bayer Leverkusen, a complete collapse. Ten Hag lasted 2 Bundesliga games before being sacked, the fastest dismissal in German top-flight history. Ten Hag called the decision unprecedented and said he never felt mutual trust from the board. In January 2026, FC Twente announced Ten Hag would join as technical director, a return to the club where he started as a player and began coaching. The touchline for now is behind him. The Ajax system required Ajax players, Ajax infrastructure, Ajax patience. Everywhere else, that formula never transferred. Steven Gerrard. That Rangers title in 2021 will echo through Scottish football history. After 9 consecutive championships for Celtic, Gerrard's side went unbeaten across 38 league matches. As well as winning, it was equally about preventing Celtic from reaching 10 titles in a row, a record that would have haunted Rangers for generations. Then he left for Aston Villa 11 games into the following season, and every job since has diminished what came before. Villa, sacked after 11 months, the club 17th in the table. Al Ettifaq in Saudi Arabia, 18 months of underwhelming results, fans chanting for his removal. A mutual consent departure in January 2025. The Rangers' achievement was real. The question is whether it represented his ceiling or whether he simply hasn't found the right situation since. Frank Lampard. Derby County reached the Championship playoff final in his first season. Chelsea gave him a 3-year contract. 4th place and an FA Cup final in year 1 suggested the appointment was justified. Then came the second season. 2 wins in 8 Premier League matches. Sacked with Chelsea sitting 9th, replaced by Thomas Tuchel, who won the Champions League 4 months later with essentially the same squad. Lampard tried again at Everton, kept them up in his first season through sheer willpower. Then won 1 of 11 matches the following year, leaving the club 19th. Sacked in January 2023. Chelsea brought him back as caretaker in April the same year. 11 matches, 1 win. The club's first bottom-half finish since 1996. The man who defined Chelsea as a player couldn't translate that connection into results from the touchline. Andrea Pirlo. Juventus handed him the first-team job in August 2020 with 0 senior management experience. He'd managed the under-23s for 9 days. The appointment felt like arrogance, the simple assumption that footballing genius automatically transfers to tactical coaching. The results? Juventus's 9-year Serie A dominance ended. They finished 4th, scraping Champions League qualification on the final day. They exited Europe at the last 16 stage to Porto. He won the Coppa Italia and Supercoppa Italiana. 2 trophies in a single season at Juventus still wasn't enough. The board brought back Allegri within hours of sacking him. Since then, Pirlo has managed in Turkey and Serie B. Now head coach in Dubai First Division. The trajectory tells the story. Graham Potter. In Brighton, they loved him. The football was progressive, the recruitment was intelligent, and the results steadily improved. Chelsea paid over £20 million to hire him in September 2022. 7 months later, after winning just 12 of 31 matches, Potter was dismissed. The dressing room had disconnected. The tactical sessions that enchanted Brighton's young squad landed differently with Chelsea's expensive, expectant stars. Potter's Sweden appointment in October 2025 suggests the career isn't finished, but Chelsea revealed his limitations in high-pressure, volatile environments. Level 2 managers prove something early, but sustained pressure, bigger egos, and shorter timelines expose gaps that smaller jobs never revealed.
Level 3. Survival Specialists. They don't win championships, they win battles against the drop. And clubs keep calling because staying in the Premier League is worth hundreds of millions. Sam Allardyce. 8 different clubs, The same job each time. Arrive with the team in trouble, organize the defense, pick up enough points to survive, leave before the limitations become unbearable. Bolton was different. He built something there. European qualification, consecutive top 10 finishes, a style that blended physicality with technical competence. But Bolton remains the exception. Newcastle, West Ham, Sunderland, Crystal Palace, Everton, Leeds. The pattern repeated. Firefighter, never architect. Harsh, but not entirely unfair. His methods work within specific parameters. Those parameters sit well below the elite. Steve Bruce, 12 different clubs, over 1,000 matches managed, 2 promotions with Birmingham, 2 promotions with Hull, an FA Cup final appearance. The CV looks respectable until you examine the Premier League record. 28% win rate across 476 top-flight matches. Newcastle was the defining chapter, his hometown club, the job he'd wanted for decades. But from the first day, the relationship with supporters was poisoned. A cabbage thrown at him during his final match as Aston Villa manager had already become the symbol of his decline. At Newcastle, he kept them in the Premier League twice, but the football was dire and the atmosphere toxic. When the Saudi consortium took over in October 2021, Bruce was sacked. He later revealed he'd recommended his own dismissal. The ceiling was always visible, and eventually everyone saw it. Sean Dyche. Burnley played Burnley football under Dyche. Aggressive pressing, direct balls into the channels, set-piece mastery. Opposition managers hated facing them. He kept Burnley in the Premier League for 6 consecutive seasons, with wage bills that ranked among the league's lowest. That's genuine overachievement. But the ceiling was always visible, fighting relegation, finishing between 15th and 18th. Everton hired him in January 2023, with the club in crisis after Lampard, and he did what he's always done: organised the defence, made them difficult to beat, and stayed up. Twice, including 2023-24, despite an 8-point deduction for financial breaches. But by January 2025, with Everton 16th and 1 point above relegation, the new ownership sacked him. Could he have taken Everton into Europe? The evidence suggests not, but keeping them afloat when administration loomed, that he delivered. David Moyes. 11 years at Everton established him as a builder of competitive teams. Top 6 finishes on limited budgets. Consistent Champions League challenges without ever quite breaking through. The Manchester United job seemed to break him. Taking over from Ferguson was impossible, and Moyes was sacked after 10 months. But he rebuilt his reputation at West Ham. Conference League winners in 2023, the club's first European trophy in 58 years. That trophy matters. It proves Moyes can finish a job when the pressure peaks. Yet West Ham also showed his limitations. Cautious football, an inability to sustain success, and a ceiling below genuine contention. His return to Everton in January 2025 felt like what it was: a safe appointment for a club that couldn't afford risk. Level 3 managers keep clubs in business. That's not a small thing, but the ceiling is visible from the moment they arrive.
Level 4. The Restorers. These managers take something broken and make it functional again. They raise standards, restore belief, and create genuine progress. The question is whether they can take the final step. Roy Hodgson. 22 different teams across 8 countries over a 48-year career. League titles in Sweden with Halmstad and Malmö. A UEFA Cup final with Inter Milan. A Europa League final with Fulham after the greatest escape in Premier League history. 3 consecutive wins when survival looked mathematically impossible. Liverpool didn't work. 7 wins in 20 league matches, sacked after 6 months. But Hodgson kept rebuilding. West Brom's highest finish in decades. England manager through 2 tournaments. Then Crystal Palace, twice, saving them from certain relegation after De Boer's disaster. At 76, Hodgson managed his 200th match for Palace. The adaptability is remarkable. So is the ceiling. League titles in Scandinavia, survival in England. The pattern never broke.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That comeback against PSG in March 2019, 3 goals to overturn a 2-goal deficit, bought Solskjaer the permanent Manchester United job. The emotional connection was undeniable. He led United to a Europa League final, lost on penalties to Villarreal. He set a club record of 29 Premier League away games unbeaten. He finished second in the league. The best moments suggested something was building. Then came 21-22. 15 goals conceded in his final 5 league matches. A 5-0 humiliation at home to Liverpool. A 4-1 collapse at Watford. The goodwill evaporated overnight. What happened after tells its own story. United hired Rangnick, then Ten Hag, then Amorim. By 24-25, the club finished 15th, their worst Premier League position ever, their lowest top-flight finish since they were last relegated in 1974. After Solskjaer, no one has been able to stabilise Manchester United, and results has only worsened. At Besiktas, he showed flashes of what he could do. Took over a club sitting 6th after Giovanni van Bronckhorst's chaotic tenure. Steadied the league position, delivered positive results against both Istanbul rivals. But European failure, elimination by Shakhtar Donetsk in Europa League qualifying, then Lausanne Sport in Conference League playoffs, cost him the job. He raised the floor. The roof remained out of reach. Mikel Arteta. The 2020 FA Cup final victory, a tactical masterclass against Chelsea, announced Arteta's arrival. Arsenal hadn't won a trophy in 3 years. 10 months into his first job, he delivered one. Since then, consecutive second-place finishes after being pipped by Manchester City. Then a third consecutive runners-up finish in 24-25. The closest Arsenal have come to a title since 2004. A squad rebuilt almost entirely, with smart recruitment replacing expensive underperformers. The progress is real. The trajectory points upward. But Level 5 demands bigger trophies to validate the process. And the Premier League and Champions League remain unclaimed. Arteta could move higher with one successful campaign. Until then, the story remains incomplete. Roberto Martinez. Belgium's golden generation reached a World Cup semi-final and Nations League final under Martinez. The tactical setup maximized De Bruyne, Hazard, and Lukaku. The squad believed. But the defensive fragility that plagued his Everton side reappeared at critical moments. Belgium conceded avoidable goals in knockout rounds. The talent deserved better tournament outcomes than quarter-final or semi-final exits. Portugal hired him for the 2024 Euros. Perfect qualifying campaign. 10 wins from 10 games. Group stage dominance. Then a penalty shootout exit to France in the quarters. The questions about big game management lingered. Then came the 2025 Nations League. Portugal defeated Spain 5-3 on penalties in the final, and Martinez finally had his answer. His first major international trophy. The questions aren't fully silenced. The Nations League isn't a World Cup or European Championship, but it proves he can close out a tournament when it matters. Level 4 managers prove they can provide stability and elevate teams from what they were. Some break through eventually. Others remain tantalizingly close. Level 5. Proven but incomplete. They've achieved at the summit of football. Trophies that most managers never touch. But something in the profile leaves questions unanswered. A single club. A limited sample. Success that hasn't yet been sustained. Zinedine Zidane. 3 consecutive Champions League titles. No other manager in history has achieved that. The 2017 final against Juventus was a tactical exhibition. The 2018 final showed management of ego and rotation that seemed impossible at Real Madrid. But Zidane only managed Real Madrid. He inherited a squad containing Ronaldo, Modric, Kroos, Ramos, and Marcelo, players who'd won the Champions League under Ancelotti in 2014 and remained among Europe's elite. He never built from scratch. He never operated without generational talent. Is Zidane's success about his ability or his environment? The honest answer, we don't know. A spell at another club, one without the ready-made infrastructure, would provide clarity. Until then, the asterisk remains. Unai Emery. Arsenal sacked him after a toxic run of results and dressing room disconnect. The assumption was that Emery had reached his ceiling. Aston Villa proved otherwise. Since November 2022, Emery has transformed Villa from relegation candidates to Champions League qualifiers. The football is intense, organised, and remarkably effective. Top 4 in 2024 wasn't a fluke, it was the product of tactical clarity. Emery won 3 consecutive Europa Leagues at Sevilla, then added a 4th at Villarreal 5 years later. That's not a coincidence. In the right environment, with the right support, he delivers. But the Champions League and major domestic titles still remain elusive. Luciano Spalletti. Napoli's first Serie A title in 33 years. The first since Maradona. Spalletti's 2022-23 side crushed Serie A, 12 points clear by January. A 5-1 demolition of Juventus, attacking football that made them a must-watch across Europe. Then he left for a sabbatical that lasted barely 2 months before Italy came calling. The Euros were disappointing. A round of 16 exit to Switzerland after the defending champions limped through the group stage. Spalletti returned to club football with Juventus in October 2025. One historic title proves ability. Sustaining it across different environments proves something more. Xabi Alonso. The Leverkusen season in 2023-24 was historic. An entire Bundesliga campaign unbeaten. A domestic double. The first German invincibles ever. They came within 1 match of a treble, losing only the Europa League final to Atalanta. Alonso took over a team sitting 17th and transformed them into champions within 18 months. The tactical evolution was remarkable. A flexible 3-4-3 with rehearsed patterns of play, relentless pressing. Real Madrid hired him in June 2025. If he succeeds there, the conversation changes entirely. The early returns suggest he belongs. But right now, the sample size is still limited. 2.5 seasons at Leverkusen and a few months inheriting one of the world's most talented squads. Xavi. Barcelona's La Liga title in 2022-23 ended a 4-year drought and delivered the club's first championship since the Messi era. The Supercopa de España victory over Real Madrid showed tactical clarity at its peak, but the second season unraveled. A 4-1 humiliation by Real Madrid in the Supercopa final. Copa del Rey exit to Athletic Bilbao. Champions League elimination to PSG. A 5-3 home collapse to Villarreal that prompted his resignation announcement. Then a reversal, then a sacking anyway. The emotional toll was visible. Xavi admitted the job was cruel. 1 title in 2.5 seasons at Barcelona earns respect, but not permanence.
Level 6. The Architects. Antonio Conte. Wherever he goes, he wins league titles. Juventus 3 times, Chelsea, Inter Milan, ending their decade without a Scudetto, Napoli in 2024-25, becoming the first manager in Serie A history to win the title with 3 different clubs. The intensity of his management produces results that seem to defy squad limitations. But the pattern is clear: 2 seasons maximum before the relationship implodes. Chelsea, Inter and Tottenham all ended with Conte at war with the hierarchy. The Spurs exit, a furious post-match rant criticizing his own players and the club's culture, summarized his volatility. He delivers trophies, not stability. Eventually, clubs decide the trophies aren't worth the turbulence. But 6 league titles with 4 different clubs speaks for itself. Jose Mourinho. 26 trophies across Porto, Chelsea, Inter, Real Madrid, Manchester United and Roma. 2 Champions League victories. League titles in 4 different countries.
The special one tag wasn't arrogance, it was documentation. The pattern that emerged later tells a different story. He's been sacked by his last 5 clubs before his contracts expired. Chelsea's second spell, Manchester United, Tottenham, Roma, Fenerbahce. The shelf life at each job has shortened. The confrontations with players and boards have intensified. Mourinho still wins trophies. The Conference League with Roma was their first European title in 61 years. But the model has become predictable. Arrive, galvanize, win something, watch the environment curdle. The talent for winning remains. So does the talent for wearing out every relationship. Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool hadn't won a league title in 30 years when Klopp arrived. By 2020, they were champions with 7 games remaining, the most dominant Premier League campaign until City's recent run. But Klopp's legacy extends beyond trophies. He rebuilt Liverpool's identity, the pressing, the atmosphere at Anfield, the sense that Liverpool was special again. That was his creation. The Champions League victory in 2019 came after losing the previous year's final. The team kept pushing. He stepped away in May 2024, citing exhaustion. The intensity he demanded from players, he also demanded from himself. 8 years at the top level took everything he had.
Hansi Flick. Bayern Munich's treble in 2020 was achieved with a perfect Champions League record, 11 wins from 11 matches, the first team to go unbeaten through an entire Champions League campaign. 6 trophies in a single calendar year. The 8-2 destruction of Barcelona announced a team operating at maximum capacity. Then came Germany, where the magic didn't translate. A World Cup group stage exit, sacked in September 2023. Barcelona's 2024-25 season proved the club version of Flick remained elite. A domestic treble, Supercopa, Copa del Rey, La Liga. 4 victories over Real Madrid in a single season, 102 league goals. Diego Simeone. When he took charge of Atletico Madrid in December 2011, they sat 10th in La Liga, fresh off a Copa del Rey elimination by third-tier opposition. Since then, 2 league titles, 2 Champions League finals, 2 Europa Leagues, and the transformation of Atletico from a punchline into a genuine European power. He's managed over 700 matches for one club, competing directly with Barcelona's financial superiority and Real Madrid's Galactico spending. The 2014 title win at the Camp Nou, where Atletico held on for a draw after losing Diego Costa and Arda Turan to first-half injuries and falling behind, remains one of football's great defensive performances. Simeone didn't join the Giants. He built something that could fight them. Marcelo Bielsa, the prophet. Pep Guardiola flew to Argentina to observe his methods. Pochettino, Simeone, and Gallardo all emerged from his Newell's Old Boys teams. Every pressing system in modern football traces its lineage back to Bielsa. An Olympic gold medal with Argentina in 2004, Chile's first World Cup qualification in over a decade. Athletic Bilbao to a Copa del Rey final and Europa League final in the same season, with a squad of only Basque players. Leeds United's promotion in 2020 ended a 16-year absence from the Premier League and turned Bielsa into a cult figure. A street was named after him. Murals appeared across the city. The trophies are fewer than the influence, but the influence is immeasurable. Level 6 managers win consistently. They're among the best in the world. Level 7. The Immortals. Pep Guardiola. 6 Premier League titles in 8 seasons, 4 consecutive championships, the first time any English club has achieved that in 135 years of football. A treble in 2023, only the second in English history. The numbers are staggering. A 74% win rate at Manchester City. 4 seasons finishing with at least 90 points. Before Guardiola arrived, that threshold had only been reached 5 times in Premier League history. What separates Guardiola from everyone else is reinvention. The Barcelona team that won everything between 2009 and 2011 didn't just win, it changed how football was played.
Tiki-taka became the blueprint every academy tried to copy. A false nine system built around Messi rewrote attacking theory. That team won 2 Champions Leagues, 3 consecutive La Liga titles, and is still considered by many to be the greatest team ever assembled. The Bayern side that dominated Germany played differently. The City team that won the treble played differently again. The principles remained: positional play, controlled possession, relentless pressing. John Stones became a defensive midfielder in build-up play because Guardiola saw something others missed. Kyle Walker transformed into an auxiliary centre-back. Erling Haaland arrived and Guardiola adjusted his entire system. Guardiola redefined what sustained excellence looks like. Sir Alex Ferguson, 26 years at Manchester United, 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions League victories separated by a decade, proving he could adapt across different eras. The 1999 treble established the benchmark. The 2008 side proved it wasn't a one-off. Ferguson rebuilt United 3 times. The team that won the first Premier League in 1993 shared almost no players with the treble winners of 1999, who shared almost no players with the 2008 champions. Each generation required different management, different recruitment, different psychology. Ferguson delivered all of it. The intimidation of referees, the mind games with opponents, the hairdryer treatment that shaped careers. Ferguson's methods wouldn't all survive modern scrutiny. His results are beyond debate. Carlo Ancelotti, 5 Champions League titles as a manager, more than anyone in history. 2 with Milan, 3 with Real Madrid. League championships in Italy, England, France, Spain, and Germany. The only manager to win titles in all 5 major European leagues. The 3 Madrid trophies tell the story of his adaptability. La Decima in 2014 came with Ronaldo, Bale, and Benzema up front, Di Maria pulling strings in midfield, Ramos and a 21-year-old Varane in defense. When Ancelotti returned in 2021 after 6 years away, that team had been dismantled. The 2022 triumph featured Benzema carrying the attack, Vinicius emerging as the new star, Courtois producing one of the great goalkeeping finals. By 2024, even more had changed. Bellingham arrived, Tchouaméni and Camavinga replaced Casemiro and Kroos in midfield. Rudiger anchored the defense. 3 titles, 3 different squads, 1 manager making it work every time. Ancelotti doesn't impose a specific system. He adapts to his players, extracts their best, and manages egos that have destroyed other coaches. At Madrid, where dressing room politics require diplomatic mastery, he thrived twice, leaving in 2025 as the club's most decorated manager before taking the Brazil job. Then there's the aura, the raised eyebrow that became a meme because it kept working. Ancelotti's Madrid developed a habit of producing late comebacks that defied logic. The kind of moments that stopped looking like luck after they happened repeatedly. There's criticism that his teams reflect their talent rather than his system, perhaps. But talent alone doesn't explain why his teams keep finding ways to win when they shouldn't. Luis Enrique. Barcelona's treble in 2015, La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League, came with a front 3 of Messi, Suarez, and Neymar that terrorized Europe. Back-to-back league titles followed. A decade later, PSG's treble in 2025 proved the Barcelona success was no accident. In the round of 16, Luis Enrique's side outplayed Arne Slot's Liverpool, the runaway Premier League leaders, over 2 legs. PSG controlled 70% possession in Paris, generated an expected goals total at Anfield that no visiting side matched all season, and won 4-1 on penalties. It was the first time Liverpool had ever lost a European tie after winning the first leg away from home. The Champions League final demolition of Inter Milan, 5-0, made PSG the first French winners since Marseille in 1993, ending a 32-year drought. The tactical flexibility is underrated. Luis Enrique's Barcelona attacked in waves. His PSG controlled transitions. Both versions won everything.
Level 7 is reserved for managers whose impact transcends individual clubs or eras.
They define how the game is played and what sustained excellence looks like. Football management ability isn't written in stone. Reputation compounds. Both successes and failures build on each other. Where does your favorite manager rank? Is Simeone underrated? Should Zidane be higher? Does Klopp belong with the immortals? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, what's coming next might surprise you.